We live in a connected world, a world where so much of what we do has at least some form of automation. In fact, there is an auto setting for pretty much anything. You've got auto doors, auto headlamps, auto wipers, auto focus. But although auto is convenient, the cost of it is that even though we live in such a connected world, we've never been more disconnected from the world. I mean, you don't have to do anything if there is a motor, program, or algorithm to do it for you. But once in a while, something special comes along. Something that reminds you of a world before automation. Of a world where you actually had to use your hands to do things. And it's usually something very old. Something like this, the Petzval 85mm prime lens, which looks like it came right out of the 19th century. Only it didn't. This lens is actually from 2013, and it's a child of a Kickstarter program by Lomography to recreate Joseph Petzval's legendary lens. The Petzval 85 is a portrait lens, and it is designed to work best on a full-frame camera. It's also a really difficult lens to use because there is no autofocusing or optical image stabilization. In fact, there is no focus ring at all because you focus by turning this little knob. Then there's how you change apertures. You don't turn a ring on the lens or a dial on your camera. Oh no, that's far too pedestrian. Instead, you insert what looks like a set of keys with holes punched into them, whose sizes correspond with a specific aperture. Need f4? Insert the f4 key. f5.6? Use that key instead. You get the idea. This is called the Waterhouse system, and it is as inconvenient as it is cool. But being inconvenient isn't why this lens is special. At least, it's not the only reason. The biggest reason has to do with its almost magical optical qualities. To illustrate what I mean, I got a little help from our in-house photographer Zach and his model friend Penny. You see, the Petzval 85 is a lens that absolutely kills it in the portrait game, but that's not because it's some pin-sharp lens. In fact, it's actually really soft when you shoot wide open. But as you can probably tell from these sample photos, the Petzval 85 has an almost otherworldly bokeh effect. The kind of bokeh that can turn even the most normal portrait photos magical. You don't need a particularly busy or complex background to get enchanting photos with this lens, but if you do line your subject up with the right kind of background, the photos you get are absolutely mesmerizing. I'm someone who tends to favor the well-defined bokeh balls over an overly creamy background preferred by most of the photography community, but I think the Petzval 85 does a great job at balancing both ends of this spectrum. You still get some nicely defined oval and circular shapes, but there's also this dreamlike smoothness to it that's just so pleasing. Of course, in the hands of a professional like Zach, it's very easy to make things look good. But what if you're like me? What if the only camera you have access to is one with an APS-C size sensor? And what about shooting in low light or in a high pressure situation like a fashion show where you need to compete with pros to get the winning shot? Luckily, we have just the event to find out. A while back, I was invited to the Sicily fashion show, and when I received that email, I knew I just had to go there to test this lens. I mean, it had the right kind of challenging lighting, a good amount of moving subjects, and surprise factors that would be a good challenge for any lens. So paired with my trusty Fujifilm X-T20, I set out to shoot my first fashion show. I mean, how hard could it be? Well, it was really quite difficult, actually. The lighting made it super difficult for me to pull focus with the Petzval 85, even though I had peaking on my camera. I also struggled to find the right spot to get good photos with my fairly long lens without getting in the way of the actual professional photographers. But after a while, I started to get the hang of it. I started getting used to pre-focusing, and thanks to the linear controls on the focus knob, the lens was actually really predictable. The most annoying thing was probably the aperture keys, but after a while I decided to just shoot wide open. It was honestly not as bad of an experience as I expected it to be. Some of the shots turned out great, though a little soft. At the end of the day, I loved my time with the Petzval 85. It is the kind of lens that you just don't see ever, and for good reason. It's inconvenient to use, it isn't very sharp wide open, and it also has the price tag to match its hefty weight. The Petzval 85 retails for $599 US, and this sexy black version is $100 on top of that. That's over 2,500 ringgit, and you can get quite a solid modern lens for that money. That makes it really hard to recommend the Petzval 85 when you put your practical pants on. After all, if you really like that swirly bokeh, you can probably Photoshop it in or something, and with a modern lens, the picture will probably be way sharper. But the thing is, purchasing something like this is very rarely done with your practical pants on. This is something that comes from the heart, because the Petzval 85 is so much more than the photos it can produce. It's also the look, the materials, and as surprising as it may be to hear, it's about the impracticality of the experience. There's no auto setting here. Everything is painfully manual, and while that may seem inconvenient at first, it's actually the most connected I've felt to the art of photography, outside of shooting film, of course. There's no shortcut here. There's no one button fixes all. You have to learn and apply practical photography skills, and that's pretty rare these days. Shooting with this is a truly unique experience, and it is one I couldn't wait to do again, and again, and again. This is the kind of lens that makes you want to go out and take photos and experiment. It encourages photography, and if you ask me, that is the most important thing any piece of camera equipment needs to have. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the little bell icon so that you'll know whenever we post a brand new video. Also, like us on Facebook because we post stuff there all the time too. Thank you so much to Lomography for sending the lens out for us to review, and thank you to Sony Malaysia for lending us the Sony a7R III for the purpose of this video shoot. If you like this video, don't forget to share it, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.